but I do think that you personally need to highlight what makes you special, what makes your product special, and find ways to get the community involved. Welcome back. Today's episode is all around providing value. How we started, what went wrong, how we learned from it, where we're currently at, and basically where we plan to go. So, when we originally started, I'll never forget the phone call that Kyle and I had when we were talking about, establishing a clothing brand. And we were talking about it from the point of just being another brand, like no differentiator, just doing it because it was something that we, had talked about doing. It was something that we wanted to bring to the world, add our spin to it, add our label to it. We didn't really have a logo picked out at the time. We didn't have a name picked out at the time. But that's the way that we were talking, right? That's just what we were. We were just another fitness clothing brand that people have seen time and time again, especially nowadays, right? Nowadays, brands pop up all over the place. There's really nothing that differentiates one from another. At least that's what it seems like. It's usually the people behind the brand, the message behind the brand, like what you stand for, because everybody needs clothes, right? So it's how are you going to stand out from a perspective of what do you believe in? What does the company stand for? Who is building the company? And I've said this before, but usually what people do is they have a community first, right? Especially nowadays, they usually have a community, a following on social media, and then they start offering merchandise to their community, right? Based off of the following that they already have. Kyle and I, we did it ass backwards. And, I don't shy away from saying that building a community is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And it is still the hardest thing that we're continuing to do. So we did it backwards in terms of building the brand first without the necessary community that, we could rely on, I should say. A lot of these influencers or famous social media famous type people can do nowadays. So if we go back to what I was talking about, when we started out, we were in a position of just being another fitness brand. And the call that I'll never forget is the one where we started talking about what we were looking for in a brand. And at the point in time, and even still today and now, it was always we wanted a brand that resonated with us as entrepreneurs and the daily hustle, the grind. It's tiring. It's exhausting. So we wanted to figure out how we could give back. And I was actually on my way to the gym. It was probably 9 at night, my time. So 11 for Kyle. And we were talking about establishing a way to invest back into like-minded individuals. So a lot of brands, they have a mission, they have a vision, right? They have values. But a mission is just that, right? It's usually what people, what they believe in, where they want to go, as a whole. It's not necessarily action-backed. You don't get rewarded for some of the, a lot of the missions that companies have. However, for ours, you do, right? So, for our mission, and our vision, we actually reward you through our loyalty program. And this was where the whole visionware side of things came into play, because we wanted to establish that new category in the apparel industry to invest back into like-minded individuals, to invest back into people that have the side hustle, that have the smaller businesses, that are trying to do, something similar to what we're doing in terms of living life on their own terms and being themselves. And nowadays, more than ever, that's what people want to do, right? Our generation, people want to be themselves. They're tired of, the 9 to 5. They're rebelling and so on and so forth. But it's still, just because we have the idea here doesn't mean that executing it is a flawless run, right? We still have issues in terms of getting people to understand, because it's so new. You can't just say, oh, it's, go look at this company. It's similar to what this company does or that company. It's establishing something that is brand new because people wouldn't expect you to actually like match 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 and invest in them like you would give to like, a nonprofit or a volunteer group. Right. So that was like where we truly started to provide value, I think, was with that idea of, well, we were too far in at the time. Like we started building clothes, like clothes were in the pipeline. Apparel was in the pipeline, so we'd spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. The website, production, so on and so forth, everything leading up to production. And we still needed a differentiator, that's where visionware came into play. And that was the day that I truly believe we had started to pave our own path of actually providing value. Kyle, what do you think? Like, was that the day? Did you think that we provided a lot of value before then, or like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that was definitely the turning point because beforehand we were, like you said, we wanted to have a clothing brand, but we didn't like we just kind of started and we got clothes into production, like we did went through the whole customization process, then we sat back for a minute and we're like, if we do this, it's, what's the difference between these clothes and those ones? And there wasn't really any difference because they were just both two fitness brands. And so, we went back and forth the whole week. And then, like Cam said, he called me on his way to the gym one time and he's like, let's try and what put ourselves in the shoes of what we want our target consumer to think. And, like what kind of value would they have buying from us if we want to focus on people that are, following their passions and doing what they want to do. And it was, why not have a company that invests back into them as opposed to just giving you a reward certificate to buy more clothes from the same company. So I think that was really the pivotal moment between us understanding how to provide value with a product as opposed to just creating a very high quality product.
Right. And, we still have that ability for people to take their points and, reward themselves through new items on the website. We kept that, but I think adding in the fact that we would make a donut or a donation, not a donut, but a donation. Hungry? Right. No, I'm just tired. But like a donation on their behalf to like a nonprofit, a volunteer group, like something to that extent, and match it 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 depending on their tier. Or, the third option is that visionware side of things to invest back into them. Like those were two new pillars that I haven't seen or have been a part of before in terms of like an apparel company. So like that right there was the start. Like I said, that was the start of us really starting to differentiate ourselves, because before it's all about like, how do you build clothes different? Well, a shirt's going to be a shirt, right? The way you change up a shirt or a sweatshirt is like, the material you use, the GSM, so how thick or thin the material is, the designs on it, the colors of it, right? There's only so many ways you can change clothes. So this is why it's very important to, understand it and convey the message of what the brand actually stands for and who the people are behind the brand. People want a face behind the brand, right? Like that's what people want, which brings me to my next point of, well, Kyle and I do a better job of providing a voice behind the brand, which is what this podcast has been about. The podcast, I feel, is the second pillar of us starting to provide more value to people, because we have the Forging the Brand episodes. We're on, I think, episode like 81 total for our podcast. And that's 81 episodes, other than the tipsy talk, the tipsy talks, maybe 2 or 3 of those. But other than that, that's 78, 79 episodes that provide value through like fitness and nutrition, through like the business perspective of how we've basically built Iron Pulse. There's values in each episode, right? Like, this has just been a good way for us. And I do think that Kyle and I are still failing on the front of providing a face for the brand, but I think that we're getting better with it. It doesn't happen overnight. I get that. We're taking steps in the right direction, but the podcast has been something that we've consistently put out for, it'll be 2 years. It'll be 2 years come this July, I believe, right? Or 1 year?
Year and a half, potentially.
Oh.
Maybe 2 years.
So
No, actually, it
meet me
would
in the
be 2
middle.
years. It would be 2 years because we started the podcast before we even had clothes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. Outside of that, I think that we've started to provide more value with the community in terms of like the photo shoots and the models and just getting people involved, right? People want to be involved with the brand. They want to, have their voice heard. They want to be seen, on social media, the website, whatever the case is. I think that we've done a good job of pulling from the community. And I think it was because like we had to do it, right? Like we weren't going out and hiring models. We couldn't afford to hire models from like agencies, so like just people that we had met in the gym. People out here in Colorado that, we had met in the gym or that we knew through like somebody else, it was giving them the opportunity of like, hey, would you like to come be a part of this brand? We have a clothing line. Here's the situation. Here's what it stands for. But we want to make sure that you actually believe in what the brand stands for because, number one, I wouldn't want you to, like Kyle and I wouldn't want you to falsely advertise our clothes, let alone yourself. Right? So, like, we would always ask people to just make sure that they believe in what the brand is and what the brand's all about before we would even, start doing photo shoots. But that's, even now, now, when I go to the gyms on Saturday, like, big shout out to Nick and Chris at Rocky Mountain Flex Fitness here in Denver, Colorado. They let me set up a table on Saturdays for anywhere from 3 to 4 hours and just talk to people and sell to people. But selling is not, here's the thing you need to understand. Selling is not the first and foremost of your mind. It should never be the first and foremost of your mind because if you push stuff on people, they will rebel even more and they will not want to be a part of it. Think about if you've ever been to like Costco or Sam's Club and there's people selling like freaking home insurance or a new mobile plan. Oh, hey, you have AT&T? Why don't you try out Verizon? Like you're there to shop for food, right? Groceries, and next thing you know, somebody's up your ass trying to sell you on a new mobile plan. That's not what you want, right? But that's these people's job. And so, I say this because when I go to the gym, I set up the table, right? Set the products up, and I start talking to people. It's like, hey, I'm not even around the table like a vulture. I'm not even around the table. Like I'm usually talking to the people at the front desk. And I do this because people are there to lift first and foremost. Right? If they see the clothes, if they like the clothes, great. You have any questions? Awesome. Here's a business card. Feel free to reach out if you need anything. Now, it's not like, hey, this is, X amount of dollars. This is X amount of dollars, pushing products on them. It's, if they're interested, I'll start explaining how the company came to be, right? Like I provide value from like where the company was, right, where it's at now and where it's going. So people can see the past, present, and future of the company without me pushing material and Iron Pulse products down their throat. Because like I said, they're there for the gym first and foremost. You want to provide value to people, right, before you even, try to sell them a product, right? It's value, 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 and then try to sell a product. Once you feel like they have enough value and they're like they genuinely care about you and your products. So, that's been great for me to go and build relationships. And I've met a lot of nice people at the gym. I've been there, I think, like 5 times now. And it's been awesome just talking to people, just seeing, what they're all about, learning more about them, just like they're learning more about the company and me in general. And there's a potential to work with a lot of these people for modeling in the future, for photo shoots in the future. Because, it's like, hey, well, if you'd like to do a photo shoot in the future, let me know. Because a lot of them at this gym in particular they've prepped for shows, right? Or they're trainers. So like this is their life. Like they love the fitness game. They've been in the fitness game for years. They love it. They want to continue to do it. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to love a photo shoot. Right? Because who doesn't? When you work so hard on your aesthetics, you want to capture those moments, right? So I think it goes really well with what we've been doing and just building personal relationships with the people at this gym. So, just to recap real quick, like we started providing value through Visionware and our loyalty program, and value through the community by getting them involved in like polls, and voting and looking at items and so on and so forth, and some colors, and just personally being there, engaging with people face to face, whether it's at a gym, whether it's around like, where I live here in Denver, whatever the case is, like we're out talking to people, building those personal relationships. So that's 3 different ways to provide value. Now, if we look at the social media side of things, Kyle, would you like to talk about like the Discord and what we've been doing on our other social platforms to provide value?
Yeah, so I think previously we were mainly just posting images of the clothes. We would, in the captions, put highlights of what the item has, whether it's like a hem scoop finish on the bottom or, custom buttons, whatever it might be. And we found that, while that is good to highlight products and the types of descriptions, but if someone's really curious about those, then, maybe they'll go to the website and look at the highlights or something. Like all the information's on there. So instead of trying to push products solely on social media using the captions and descriptions, we've been changing it up over the last couple weeks and doing little daily tips or facts about entrepreneurs or little motivational reminders, and creating reels that kind of speak to our target audience in the hopes that, those who are attracted to that type of information or maybe also searching for those types of, tidbits and information and things like that, they'll follow our account, and then they'll kind of get invested in the community that we're trying to build, and kind of centering that content around people that we want to be interacting with and having asked questions. And so that's what we've been focusing on mainly in terms of posting, as opposed to just putting item descriptions and trying to push products. So I guess long way of saying, taking kind of what we initially thought, like I think there's 2 kind of scenarios here. Like with the whole business itself, we thought, let's just push clothes and it'll be awesome. And then we took a step back and said, no, we need to add value to it. So we started adding that value, but then on the social media side of things, we were kind of doing exactly what we did when we started the company, and we were only pushing products and saying, look at how good of quality this is. And then just now it's, we're putting all the pieces together, and, as much value as we can provide, we're going to do it. And we hope that everyone is, supportive of the types of content that we're putting out. We hope that we're adding value to whatever you might be trying to do with your side hustle and your passion. And, in the end, you'll end up supporting, because we have some awesome clothes, like amazing quality, and a way for you to visually represent, the community that you stand for.
Right. So we looked at it from a perspective of like, who is our target audience? Well, we're our own target audience. So who are people like us out there looking for like a clothing brand, and how can we target them? Well, sitting there saying that, this maroon colored tank, premium, blah, 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 with a vinyl strip on the back. Great. People look at that and, maybe they'll read it for 2 seconds, but it's like, okay, it's a sales game, right? But you get more value out of like maybe a fact or, a little tidbit of like what we've used for, X reasons for our company that have helped us grow tenfold, or, something to the point of like, we're telling you how we did something and why it worked for us, or like why something didn't work for us. Like that's what the posts have become now. And that provides way more value to people like me and Kyle, who are our target audience, than it does, just explaining what the item is. Here's the thing. People don't buy the item, right? That they buy you. So you need to figure out a way to provide value in some way, shape, or form by being personable. So whether that's doing a podcast, whether that's sitting on and doing like IG Live, Facebook Live, TikTok Live, or YouTube, and creating videos like that, you have to, whether it's a face or a voice, at least put yourself out there in front of people. And because you need to give somebody something to connect to with the brand. People will connect with the brand and what it stands for sure. But more people will connect to you and the struggles and the hardships, the failures, the successes that you're going through behind the brand to build the brand up. And because, everybody on their own personal level, they can relate to it. They're going through failures, struggles, successes, triumphs, like whatever the case is. Everybody goes through those things. It might not be from a business perspective, but it could be from like a personal perspective, even though you're going through it from a business perspective, but still it's relatable. Everybody fails, everybody succeeds, in some way, shape or form. So, where I think that Kyle and I can change things up. So like we've now been providing more value on social media. I would agree with that. I think like adding the Discord is huge because that gives another community, the NVISION Nation community, where we're going to be doing like exclusive drops in there, giving people like more discounts in there. We want people to focus on like their self-promotion and their well-being, their mental health. We have set it up from that perspective because like it's a tiring journey. It'll beat you up. It will for sure beat you up. So you gotta find things that you enjoy, right? And surround yourself with people that want to basically give right back. But I think where we go from here, from an Iron Pulse perspective is it about, building out a physical presence, whether it's like a boutique, a gym, something else? I don't know. Could that be in the future? I don't know. I would like to think that it would be in the future. In terms of a time frame, I wouldn't be able to say because I genuinely have no idea what the correct move would be for that. Is it more IG Reels and TikTok and more lives? Maybe I 110% think that it needs to be more of that. I think that it needs to be more lives. You need to vlog more behind the scenes in the processes. And, I say this because we need to do it too. We have a lot of stuff out there and we're pushing more out there as we speak. But just the way the world operates in terms of social media, like you have to put yourself out there. It's uncomfortable for some people. Some people are genuinely better at it than others. And that's just how things go in life, right? But you need to find something that you enjoy doing. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have a TikTok, an Instagram, a YouTube, a Twitch all in one and be streaming 4 times in one. Find one thing that you enjoy if you're just starting out and focus heavily on that, whether it be TikTok or Twitch or Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case is. And once you build a presence there, then you can grow, right? Then you can maybe start to move to a different platform and figure out the insights and the analytics and the algorithms behind that platform. But I do think that you personally need to highlight what makes you special, what makes your product special, and find ways to get the community involved and to give yourself a USP, which is a unique selling point. So provide value first. I think we've given a bunch of ways to provide value here. Do you do it through a loyalty program? Do you do it through the products you offer, through how you present the products? Do you do it through social media, through a Discord, through Instagram, through your Reels, through your TikTok? Like, only you can answer that. Like, we can sit here and spit out 100 ideas of how you can provide value, but it's going to be up to you to see what meshes well with your brand and your company and you as a whole for what you want to represent. And then you take it from there and you run with it in that direction. But I no matter what you do, I would say to work on vlogging the process behind the scenes, like where you started to where you're going. Everybody starts with basically a shit situation in terms of there's a long road ahead of you if you start a business. So you start with nothing, right? Unless you buy a business. But let's say you're just starting your business from nothing. Capture those moments, because even though you might be selling out of the trunk of your car or cardboard boxes in your living room like we did, there is going to come a time when things look nicer, the community's growing, you're selling out of a warehouse or a boutique or a gym or whatever the case is, you've taken those steps, but you're going to look back and be like, okay, well, this is where it all started. So
yeah, I agree.
That's all I really got to say from that. There's a lot of ways to provide value, but like I said, you got to figure out what works best for the message and the brand that you're trying to convey to your audience and who that may be. Do you have any closing remarks, Kyle?
Nope. I think you summed it up well with
that. Sounds like a plan, man. If you liked and found value in the show, please feel free to share it with your friends. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen. Speaking of, you can become part of the NVISION Nation Discord. Drop a podcast emoji, and we will send you a $10 gift card for Iron Pulse. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Pinterest at Official Iron Pulse. But don't worry, if you still prefer email, we've got you covered with the Iron Pulse report. You can sign up on shopironpulse.com. And remember, no matter what you do, be all in.